Today, I'm going to be covering how you can get the legendary Pokémons of Ruin in Scarlet and Violet. Let's get into it. To give an idea of what you're about to walk into, you had to find 32 black ominous stakes around all the Paldea region and pull each one in retrospect to the exact Pokemon you're going after that is the ruinous Pokemon. Each one has a different color associated with it that I'll cover in the video. Each of these stakes are going to be scattered into groups of 8, kind of going on each region. So put the Paldea map into 4 quadrants: northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. And you're going to have a bunch of different stakes that are about the same color in those regions respectively. While it's not required to do so to get the legendary Pokemons of Ruin, you can actually go to the Academy, do a bunch of classes that give you fast travel points to each of the gates that I'm going to show you in this video that are fast travel points, making it that much easier for you. I'm going to cover as if you never went to these courses, like most people probably haven't in the game. I know I certainly haven't done any classes. However, having fast travel points for each of these 4 gates does help a ton, going back and forth between the stake locations, so you may want to do them. Finally, all these Pokemon are at level 60, so they're not going to be low level whatsoever. You're going to want to bring in a team that helps you take them down and also make it easier for you to catch them. Have a Pokemon that knows Thunder Wave or Yawn to make them go to sleep. Poisoning and Fire are also fine, but just keep in mind that you should save in front of them before fighting them in case they faint. Now that you have been warned about what you're going into, let's get into all these different locations. The very first shrine you'll come across is the Purple Shrine, which is very early on in the game. You don't have to have any of the writing utilities at all just to get there, so it's very easy to find. The Purple Shrine is actually going to look exactly like this, and all the other shrines will look like this, just different colors. The first purple stake that you're going to come across is right near the first town on top of this hill, where you're going to have the waterfall starting. It's a little difficult to get to without actually climbing up, but you'll be able to get there by jumping around a little bit. Now, once you get to the top, you'll obviously see this stake that is glowing purple sitting in the ground. What you want to do, walk up to it, press A. It's going to go through a little bit of dialogue with you, telling you to pull out the stake. You're going to do this for every single stake in the game, so very straightforward. The second purple stake is actually going to be on another hill just across from the waterfall that you're at and right next to Los Platos. I found it a lot easier to get to by going over some of the ramps in the next area to jump up over onto the stake location. The third stake is actually not too far at all. You're going to want to get to the very top of this spiral looking mountain. It's literally going to be at the very top of this thing. The nice thing about this segment is that you don't have to use the jumping ability all that much, and you don't have to have any upgrades to get this one in particular. The fourth purple stake is actually not too far at all. It's a little deceiving. It's going to be on this ledge right here, and you are going to want to jump off the ledge above it, I guess the cliff above it, to get down to that little area. Easiest way to tell you're in the right spot is seeing this trainer right on the edge and jump down to the green patch below, and you'll come across another purple stake. Now, the fifth purple stake is actually a little bit of an annoying spot to get to, but it's not difficult to get to. It's actually going to be on top of this particular rock inside the giant rock maze, and you just have to jump up a couple rocks to get to it. This one in particular is very easy to see at night because it sticks out against the little rock structures around it and also against Mesagoza in the background. The number 6 stake is actually on a ledge right around this area. What I recommend you doing is going to the watchtower that is to the south of this. If you haven't already gotten as a fast point, I would do so and fly off of that onto a ledge nearby. You can also, of course, go around the grassy plains that are on the other side of the rock maze, as I call it, to get to this one, but I found this to be a lot quicker jumping off the tower. Stake number 7 is going to be right next to Artazone. It's going to be on the little rock fixtures just over the town. It's very easy to see once you start looking for it in this area. I would recommend getting the climbing ability first, though. It's a very picturesque location, which kind of fits perfectly with Artazone's theme with all the different sculptures. Finally, the stake number 8 is actually right above the shrine that you started at. It's going to be on this little ledge in that particular area, and it's not difficult to find, which is very nice for the final one. Like I said, it's really not that hard to see this one, especially in the night when you have the blue ocean in the background. It just kind of stands out. Once you have finally pulled out all 8 stakes of the color that you're going with, you're going to get a sound coming from the door, and that would be a nice little confirmation that you have gotten all 8. Now for the purple door, you're actually fighting the ruined Pokemon named Wo-Chien. It is a dark grass type Pokemon that has a very unique ability called Tablets of Ruin. What Tablets of Ruin does is decrease the attack stat of all the Pokemon in the field other than the Pokemon that has this ability by 25%. It's a really awesome ability and a little broken depending how you use it, but at the same time, I just love the design of this one in particular, especially because they use the tablets as a snail shell. Nonetheless, it's a fun battle. Our next set of stakes is actually going to be for the Orange Gate, and this is where you can actually find the Orange Gate location in of itself. It's right near where you fight the giant bird titan, right next to that little lake on the mountain. If you go behind it and down a couple ledges, you'll be able to find it right against the ocean. The first stake that I found is actually in Cascarafa, and I'm probably mispronouncing the entire city, but it is behind the gym and one of the ledges with the trees next to the waterfall. For a little bit more specific direction, if you're looking right at the gym, go to the left side and to the left little patch next to the left side of the waterfall, and it's going to be behind that giant tree, and it's going to be glowing orange. Orange stake number 2 is actually going to be a little bit more difficult to get to than the first one. The only thing that's more difficult about it is that you have to travel to it in a completely different side of the entire map to get there. I would recommend flying to that submerged tower next to the Psychic Gym town and just go to these ledges over here. You don't see it right from the get-go because it's even farther down on this more secluded ledge, but that's where stake number 2 is. Stake number 3 is actually in a very annoying spot if you ask me. It is farther down the giant waterfall in this area on this very tiny ledge. My recommendation is just take your time getting down to the ledges by ledges until you get to the specific one that has this one on there, and very slowly nudge yourself off till you land right in front of it. Stake number 4 is actually on a solo pillar inside a little hole. It's kind of like surrounded by a bunch of cliffs, so the easiest way that I found to get on there is actually glide into this area. If you don't have your gliding ability yet, just take your time in timing your jump correctly. Once you're down there, there is a cave that you can get out of the area in and get you back into the plains area that this is located at. Stake number 5 is actually located in a cave, and this, where I'm marking on the map right now, is actually the entrance location to this cave. Once you get inside the cave and go inside for a little while, you'll come across this orange stake kind of sticking out in the middle area. Number 6 is on another ledge in this area right here. You actually have a very close Pokemon Center that you can fly to, which makes it a lot easier for you to go back and forth and explore the area as well. This one can be a pain, as your riding Pokemon will slip a lot on the edges, but if you have the gliding factor and the gliding skill already, it won't be that hard to get to. Number 7 is very close to the Dark Star base and also one of the Watchtower ruins. I would recommend getting on top of this Watchtower and then gliding over to this area. This will probably take you a couple tries, but you'll at least have a little bit of a little speed up time since you have a fast travel point with the tower. Finally, orange stake number 8 is actually in this very tiny crevice right here, which is not too far from number 7, which we just covered. So just make your way over here however you want to. I jumped in from up top since I had just gotten number 7 when I was recording this, so that's why I was jumping from a tall cliff. Now, this particular Ruin Pokemon is actually called Chien-Pao, and I'm sure I'm butchering their names, but this one actually has an ability called Sword of Ruin. It decreases the defense stat of all Pokemon on the field other than the Pokemon with this ability by 25%. Very similar to the other Pokemon of Ruin, just with the defense aspect instead of the attack aspect. With this defense stat, obviously it makes this much more of an attack-based Pokemon, and it really packs a punch on you, especially at level 60. The Ice Panther design is also phenomenal. Green Gate number 3 is in the northeastern segment next to the giant lake. It has a little ramp going down towards it. It's hard to miss. For green stake number 1 is actually not too far from where you actually get to the gate. You're going to see some ruins in this area, and it's going to be on top of all these different cliffs in the area. It's weird. It's one of the first ones that I came across that wasn't on the very top of a mountain like this. So it just on the random ledges in this area. You'll be able to find it at night. Stake number 2 is found on another little pillar of rock sticking out right next to the coastline and the lake. This location is very straightforward, thankfully. I would recommend having the climbing ability. It just makes it that much easier to get to. Stake number 3 is a little bit more tricky to get to. So this is actually inside a cave in and of itself as well. But you can get on top of this through the desert and also jump into that particular hole that I'm pointing out on the map. As you see here in the actual game, it's on this weird looking pillar that is right next to all these other Pokemon and all these other little pillars of rock. It's hard to get to. It's a very quirky spot, but again, you have the climbing ability, not a problem at all. Stake number 4 might be the easiest one yet. It is literally just outside this cave area, right next to the river. I mean, this location really doesn't get much simpler than this. It's sitting on its own in a little field right next to the waterfall. Green stake number 5 is actually going to be on the largest island in the lake. Thankfully, there is a tower there that you can fast travel to at the same time, making it that much easier to get to. Thankfully, these stakes kind of stick out like a sore thumb against the lake. It makes it that much easier for you to see them. Number 6 is also located on the lake, but probably on one of the smallest islands in the entire lake. You're going to want to get to the very top of this, and it's going to be right next to the tree. Okay, so maybe not right next to this little tree, but it's on the same island. You'll be able to find it. I mean, there's really not much room on this little thing. Number 7 is also next to a waterfall and a waterfall ledge at that. Again, this is where the climbing really comes in handy because this is a very steep cliff. There are ways to get all these stakes without having all the riding Pokemon abilities, but having them all makes it that much easier for you. Now, number 8 is actually really close to this little snow ledge. It's also covered by snow a little bit, so it will be somewhat difficult to see. I would recommend pinging something in this location, that way you know where you need to get to on your map. Find the stake by looking down and slide down until you can actually pull the stake out of the ground. Very slowly. You will slip off. I know it happened to me a couple times. With all 8 green stakes finally pulled out, you can now go back to the green gate and fight Ting-Lu. Again, my apologies for the terrible pronunciation on my part. This particular Pokemon of Ruin is a dark ground type Pokemon with the ability called Vessel of Ruin. Vessel of Ruin decreases the special attack stat of all the Pokemon in the field other than the Pokemon with this ability by 25%. I think you kind of starting to see the pattern that all these Ruin Pokemon are having. Our 4th and final Pokemon of Ruin actually is designated with a blue gate, which is in an interesting area in the northeast side of the map. The area that I have pinged on the map is called Twin Dragon Falls. What you're going to want to do is get to the very top by using your climbing ability and get your way into this cavern where you'll find the blue gate. This is going to be a little difficult because obviously, as you can see, there is a lot of Pokemon in the way. Now that you know where the gate is, the first blue stake is actually also in the northeast, but the northeastmost beach. It's kind of an interesting spot. It's going to be right around the beach area, kind of near this little ping on the map. Once you're in the general vicinity, it'll be very easy to see. I think the blue ones are very vibrant and much easier to see than all the other stakes that we've covered so far. Stake number 2 is actually going to be on this little patch of grass right off the snowy cliffs of the mountain. So what I recommend is going to the ice gym area and making your way down the mountainside through a bunch of the ruins that you've seen before. Again, most of these are going to be near these trees that are marked on these little patches of land as well. This is no exception. It's going to be stuck right in the middle, and who knows, you might be able to find some more Gimmighoul in there like I did. Blue stake number 3 is going to be right near the purple star base or the poison star base, whichever one you want to go with. It's going to be on those ledges right next to the big tree in this area. Stake number 4 is actually just going to be right on top of this giant rock. That's it. It's on top of a giant rock. It is very nice to have a very straightforward stake location after some of the quirky spots that we find these in. Stake number 5 is right next to the fighting star base and also next to a giant tree. There are a lot of giant trees in this area. I don't know why the blue stakes have so many next to them, but just get to the top of the area right next to this Pokemon Center. I am kind of curious why they keep on picking trees as the only thing that they put these stakes next to. Number 6 is actually right on top of this mountainside near one of the lighthouses next to Levincia town, or I guess Levincia city. Just get to the top of here. There is a way to get up there, but it's a lot easier to just climb up as you see here. And once again, it's right next to a giant tree. Number 7 is definitely one of the more secluded stakes out of all the stakes in the game. It's going to be found in these particular ruins on the east side of the map. Once you get to the ruins, it'll be easy to see, but it's right near the large overhang in the area. And finally, blue stake number 8 is found on the very top of the mountain that you have the shrine door in. Once you're at the cave entrance, just jump up another level and the stake will be right there waiting for you. This final Pokemon of Ruin is named Chi-Yu. It is a dark fire type Pokemon and by far my favorite design out of all the Pokemon of Ruin. And just like the other 3 Pokemon of Ruin, it also has a special ability called Beads of Ruin. Beads of Ruin actually decreases the special defense stat of all the Pokemon in the field other than the Pokemon with this ability by 25%. And I mean, come on, how could you not love the design of this fire dark goldfish? I mean, I simply want one in real life. And there you have it, guys. Every single one of the ruinous Pokemon and how you can unlock them by taking out the stakes inside the overworld. These Pokemon are super cool. I'm glad that they put them in there, and the fact that you can get them at any time in the game. You just need to have a good enough team to get them into a Pokeball. Other than that, I appreciate you guys taking the time to look at my how-to guide. These guys are loud. If you could, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial video. Peace.